Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is another rant, and the topic this time is toxic positivity. Now, I could have just made this video all about Chris Stuckmann, but I felt that his video revealed a much deeper issue and a problem that is a lot more massive than just one YouTuber's opinion on something. And I know there have been other YouTubers who have made much more eloquent videos about this topic, but I am passionate about this, and I've been wanting to speak my truth, so to speak, or uh, share my thoughts on this topic for quite a long time now. And yes, the Chris Stuckman video is really what spurred this, but it's not just because I want to ride any sort of trend. It just happened to be there. It was just kind of a coincidence. Because honestly, I thought about doing this video months ago. Because I've been noticing a trend online in particular, and when it comes to critiques of film and television, that really worries me. And toxic positivity to me is equally as destructive as toxic negativity. And I don't think that's really being discussed enough. Like, I think people seem to think that toxic negativity is like the only destructive force when it comes to discourse about film, television, or reviews and critiques. But for me, toxic positivity is equally as devastating, especially if it's just as out of control. And I think we are really starting to see that happen right now. And videos like We Need to Talk About This by Chris Stuckmann are the result of this. They're the result of this whirlwind of toxic positivity, this tornado of toxicity. And the video itself, it's not necessarily representing anything new for Chris and his brand, because he decided to just stop critiquing films he doesn't like years ago. As soon as he started to work on an independent film, he realized how hard it was to make a movie, and he decided to make a decision not to critique films harshly anymore and be negative. Cool. That's his choice. If that's what he wants to do, more power to him. But it does represent, in my opinion, a prime example of toxic positivity at work. And this instance is a lot more insidious, because if you look at the context of things, if you look at why he's doing it, it seems like he's just willingly injecting his own brand, his own channel, with a lethal dose of toxic positivity for the slim chance that he might get a job in the film industry. And why is that? Because there is an even bigger problem that resides in the industry itself that ties into the topic of toxic positivity. And you might be wondering, okay, how? Why is this the case? Well, there's an unwritten rule in Hollywood that you don't critique people's work, at least in a negative way. You don't say somebody did a bad job. You don't say that they could have done better. You don't do that. I don't know how long this unwritten rule has existed. If you listen to interviews with actors or writers or directors, or you read them online, it seems like it's been around a long time. And if you ask me, it's an outdated and archaic mindset that is destroying the industry because it's creating an insulated, isolated bubble of nothing but sunshine and rainbows and adulation and cheers and uh, congratulations and handshakes and hand jobs. And if that is all that's happening in the industry from the insiders, from the people that make the movies, that make the television shows or make the streaming series, if that's all that's happening, then no wonder so many things suck. Because it's nothing but a nonstop love fest and just glad handing. And you would think that you would want the opposite if you were trying to make it in that industry. You would want to hear from established filmmakers and writers, and you would want to hear from them when it comes to all fronts. You would want to hear from them when it comes to, hey, that wasn't very good. I'm sorry. I didn't like it. But keep going. Keep going. Here's how you can improve upon that. Here's how your direction can be better the next time. Here's what you could do with your writing where you could improve upon the characterization. Here's how you can maybe fix the climax a little bit. Here's how you can be better. How can you be better in any capacity if all you are doing is just only listening and accepting positive thinking and reinforcement and not accepting critical thoughts that don't pertain to things that are inherently positive? Like, how can you actually get better at anything if you're not going to be listening to or accepting constructive criticism? That whole video that Chris Stuckmann did, it just exposed Hollywood to me. It exposed the industry. And it shows why things are failing. It's not the studios. It's not even necessarily the actors or the directors, although that is part of it. Because, in all honesty, some people are good directors. Some people have an eye and a flair for cinema. Some people don't. Some people are good at writing. Some people aren't. Not everyone is good. Some people suck. And I'm sorry. It's harsh. It's critical. I know some people will probably say that I suck. I suck at making videos. I've heard that a bunch of times. That's just their opinion. But here's the thing. If you are creating a product and people are paying for the product, then people should be allowed to be as negative or as positive as they want to be. And if you are the person that's creating that product for these masses, for their entertainment, then you should be able to accept and deal with whatever their opinion is, whether it's harsh or whether it's showering you with praise, or it's just kind of in the middle. You should be willing and able and capable of doing all of those things. Because if you're not, what are you making these things for? Why are you making these movies? Why are you making these shows if you don't want people to feel honest about them? You don't want people to be open about their feelings about them. And that is just toxic. And it's like a disease. It really is. It's like a genuine disease. Not just in the industry, but also when it comes to film criticism. Because you see that so much more often nowadays. Oh, well, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Oh, I'm not in the business of bashing movies. I'm in the business of celebrating cinema. So if I say that something is bad, and if I say that a certain director didn't do that great of a job, in my opinion, and I think they could have done better, or I think the script could be better, then I'm just bashing the movie, and I'm not celebrating cinema. I'm sorry, celebrating cinema does not mean celebrating and cheering on and loving everything that cinema represents and everything that comes out in the cinema. That's not what that is. That's being delusional about cinema. And if you're being riddled with toxic negativity, you're delusional. If you're being riddled with toxic positivity, you're delusional. They're equally destructive forces. And God knows what happens when they combine together all at once. But toxic positivity is the one that I think should be discussed more because I guess people think that it's not as bad because it's positive, but it is. Case in point, look at the industry, look at Hollywood, look at so many of these bad films. Maybe we would get better directors, maybe we would get better writers if they would just, I don't know, have people in the industry that they're working in work with them to improve their abilities, to make them better, and not just have to rely upon a studio that is completely unreliable in the first place to try to improve them or just do it on the fly and just do it on their own. In some ways, I kind of feel for some of these filmmakers and writers in the industry because yeah, some of them aren't the best and some of them have agendas. And in that instance, I don't feel for them as much, but I do feel for the writers and the filmmakers or the actors who aren't trying to do this for some kind of outside agenda. They're just doing it because they love film and they love movies, and this is a dream of theirs. And for their dreams to be dashed because no one in the industry wants to help them because they just want to either focus on their own thing or their advice sucks because they're not really willing to be open about uh, when something doesn't work and when something is bad because of some dumb unwritten rule, or they are screwed over by the studio that just takes a film away from them and they can't make the movie they want to make because the studio just rips the film away and basically directs the movie themselves or writes the movie for them. And they don't have control. And in that instance, yeah, I do feel for them. But a lot of it stems from toxic positivity. Even the studio culture, toxic positivity. Do you think the people at the heads of the studios, you think they want to hear that much when it comes to criticism? Do you think they want to hear anything remotely close to constructive criticism when it comes to their job and how to do their job? No, absolutely not. Maybe if they were more willing to, or maybe if there were other people that I don't know were more receptive to it, then maybe these studio heads would actually get better at their job. It would probably also help that uh, the studios would hire people for the jobs when it comes to making movies who have actually made movies, but that wouldn't be enough because it's a culture. It's a culture that's toxic. You can hire somebody to be the next head of Sony or Disney or Universal or Warner Brothers or whoever, and they could have all this experience making movies. But if this culture is still toxic and riddled with toxic positivity, then they're not going to fix it because the problem stems far deeper than that. And that's why Chris Stuckmann's video frustrates me, is that he just oversimplifies things. And he does it in one way because he doesn't want to offend anyone. He doesn't want to push any buttons. He doesn't want to, trigger anyone in the industry that might potentially hire him. But at the same time, he doesn't really provide a full picture. He doesn't really provide the best analysis of what is going on. And I think with his platform and with his reach, he can make a video about toxic positivity. He can make a video where he's talking about how he feels like he's pressured to act a certain way and to talk about films a certain way now. Because if he doesn't, because if he talks about them in the ways that he's done before, he'll be ostracized. He'll burn bridges and talk about how problematic that is in today's society where social media is more and more prevalent than it ever has been. A lot of the people at the studios who work in these studio jobs who are way up there, they don't have a lot of experience in social media. So they have this archaic way of thinking where it's like, oh, well, you can't burn the bridges, but there's more nuances to it now. It's more complex. I don't see any reason why, if you work in the industry as a filmmaker or a writer or an actor, that you can't be critical. You can't be negative if you want to about someone else's work. Because all it is an opinion. That's all it is at the end of the day. It's just an opinion. And if people who work in the industry, they can't take other people's opinions, especially from their peers, well, that's all kinds of fucked up. And yeah, toxic positivity, man, it's a reason why you get all these films that come out that aren't really that great, mediocre, mid-tier, because you got these lowered expectations and you got these people who are all like, well, at least I get another film in this series and this franchise that I like. Okay. Does the quality of the film really matter as much to you? Well, yeah, but kind of no. Because honestly, that's what it is. Like for a lot of these people, it's like, well, as long as I get another Scream film, as long as I get another Halloween movie, as long as I get another RoboCop, oh, I'm fine. I'm happy. I get another one. I get more of this thing that I like. But what if this thing that you like kind of sucks now, and aren't any improvements that are made to make it suck less or not suck at all? What if it just continually gets worse? Well, I still want it because it's more. And that's toxic positivity in its own way. I think it's that fine line. It's that balance between positivity and negativity. I think people be more even keeled, you know, in the middle, on the fence. That's the best way to be when it comes to modern entertainment or just entertainment in general, if you ask me. At the start anyway, especially before you see the movie or the TV show, you should just be like, I don't necessarily have any specific expectations for it. I'm just hoping that it'll be good. And honestly, that's how a lot of us feel. We just hope that something will be good, but a lot of us feel that more than likely that's not going to be the case with certain things. But deep down we still hope that it's good. But that's not what I consider to be toxic positivity or anything. Like that's just being positive and hopeful, which I think is healthy and is a good thing. But when being positive and hopeful turns into delusional, that's another thing where you're ignoring things, where you're not talking about other aspects of a film or a show because you don't like it. And I guess that makes you feel uncomfortable, makes other people feel uncomfortable. And that leads to you just talking about only the good things. Man, that's not good. And if you're a film critic and it's your job to review movies, and that's been your job for years, and now you're not even going to talk about a film that you don't like and be negative about it when it deserves, or at the very least has earned your negativity because it doesn't align with what you personally feel are positive traits for a good film, then you should just quit. Stop doing reviews. Just make video essays. Just do video discussions about different topics related to film and celebrate cinema that way. Because there's no point masquerading as a film critic or somebody who's sharing their honest thoughts and feelings on a movie if you're only going to tell one side of the story. I really got nothing else to say about this topic except really opened my eyes. I think I get it. I think I understand why things are so below par, mid tier, and kind of sucky when it comes to a lot of entertainment and media. It's not just because everything is woke. That's way down the list. It's definitely something that relates to the culture problem. But if we're talking about quality of things, quality of writing, quality of acting, quality of direction, man, it's toxic positivity. It's people in the industry not wanting to lift each other up or not wanting to criticize one another, not wanting to help one another get better. And until that happens, well, I think things are just going to stay the same. We're going to get the same level of suck that we've gotten for the past decade or so from all of these studio films. Because, and even maybe from some independent movies, because even in that area, well, don't, hey, you did a great job. Awesome. You made a movie. You did it. It's great. Keep going. That advice is honestly not that useful if you think about it. Especially if you're in the industry, you're trying to be a filmmaker, trying to be a writer, like it's like, okay, thanks. You got anything else to add? You got anything to provide me with that I can actually work with? Positive or negative? That's about as useful as like a grade that you get on a paper in school and it's like an A, but all it says is good job. Okay, what did I do good? What was good about it? Or the opposite, where you get like a C plus or you get a D and then nothing, and then you're like, what? Why did I get that grade? Well, I gave you that grade, but why? It's just it's funny to me that in school you rarely ever had a teacher give you a paperback that didn't explain why you got the grade that you did. And in school, constructive criticism, when it comes to reviewing things or analyzing stuff, was something that was always at the forefront. It was always considered important and vital when it comes to analyzing and critiquing things. But now we have people in the industry who make movies and TV shows where all this stuff that they learned at school doesn't apply anymore. Like they've either forgot the training or it doesn't matter because, well, we've made it. And that's just the way it is. That's just the way things are. It's the way things have been. It might have worked in the past, but it's clearly not working now. It's time to change the discourse. It's time to change the culture. And it starts with rooting out the toxic positivity and breaking those bubbles. Anyway, thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later. See ya.